Good evening, back to the Willow Tit. So we've got the crown done for now. We may come back and have a look at that bit later. We've done the beaks, the eye. I've done this underneath bit here, the dark bit. So now we're just going to have a look at this light area. So let me get rid of some of the pencil marks that we've put on there. Okie dokie, use my, don't forget to dust away your waste bits and something to put my hand on. So, right, I'm looking at this now. So, with the colours that we've got, I'm looking at where's the light grey. So, we've got like a steel grey, haven't we? So, I'm looking around this area here on the bird. And we've got some steel grey here. Round this way. And there. There a little bit there. Down here. Okay, so that's the steel grey to start with. Very light pressure. And then I'm going to use the nice shadow colour, which is violet grey. And with the violet grey, again, we're going to use light pressure, and it's for the shadow areas. So reintroduce the shadows, which are sort of here. Let me just as well, while I'm here, because we're losing. So I'm going to use the dark sepia from the polychromos. So just lost that little bit there. Okay. And then down here, among this, coming out from this darker area into the nice white section, we have got some, if you look, some violet tones. So if you use the violet grey, I find that's a really nice colour for the shadows. Pull some of that down here into the belly. Okay. I'm a little bit too far down here, so let me just, because I've only used light pressure, and also there's this pencil mark there, which I don't want. Okay. That there. That's because I've had that masking fluid on. Right, so that's that there. Also, I'm going to use some of this violet grey here on the sort of bottom area of the white as it hits the darker. This is a greyish area. Because we do have some shadowy bits here that come down into there, sort of pull a little bit down into there, and then up this side here and around. And then here we have a few of the violet touches as well. Okay. Because white isn't white, it's got bits of other colours in it as well. So, and then I'm just going to now use a bit of the French grey 10%. That's a raw umber, I don't want that. So the French grey 10%. And just around here at the bottom, I'm just going to put a little bit of that there and in here as well. And also around here. So I'm using light pressure. The bottom of all these shadow areas there. And then to finish this bit off for now, I'm going to use the white. So I'm going to use a white, and I'm going to use a firmer pressure so that will actually blend all over the white area. So I'm going to blend it with the white, and it will lighten but also soften the white feathers without actually removing all the feather marks. So I'm going to start here, going in the direction of the feathers. like I said, do a fairly firm pressure. And what you'll see it'll do, it'll fill in some more tooth of the paper, but also it's going to lighten it slightly as well. Okay. So it'll add some of that whiteness back to it, but also it'll lighten some of this area, but also soften it as well. If you look, it looks a little bit softer, which is what we're looking for. This area will look a little bit untidy at the minute because we've got the grey to put in there. Okay, just actually going to go. Me. I'm just going here with a little bit of the. I can see some quite dark little hair areas here. I'm just going to push. This is the dark sepia from the Polychromos range. I'm just going to push some little bits into that area there. Okay, so I got that nice little dark area there underneath his chin, should we say. So now I'm going to look at this grey area here, which is the top feathers. And then we'll come on to the more defined shaped feathers there. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to start and build up with a light touch of the slate grey at the bottom. Curve the lines. And so let's have a look. Slate grey, I think. Yeah. Okie dokie. So I'm going to start here, and at the bottom, I'm pushing that into that white area there. Starting at this bottom area here. So we've got that bit there, that bit there. Okay. I'm starting here. If you look how it curves that way. Okay. We'll start here at the bottom, so it's going to be darker. Okay, and it curves sort of that way. Push that into the white. And then as I get up at the top end here, I'm going to release the pressure slightly. Okay. Come back down here and make this bottom area a lot darker. Okay, go. And lighter as we go further up. There's a couple of little light patches there. So always just keep your eye on your reference photo. And then obviously as we come further down, we need it a bit darker down here. It's going to go a lot darker actually, but for now. And then just push that up into these lighter areas. Okay, so use the slate grey. At the top, I'm going to use some of this French 10% French grey at the top there to make that a bit lighter. And then I'm going to go in with, I think I'm going to go in with a sepia. Yeah, I'll go in with the sepia first. Push into there. So this area here is this is the darker area. Yeah. Yeah. And then as we come up, and I'm curving, if you look, I'm curving the strokes over that way. And then as we come up here, we get a little bit, we pull the pressure off a little bit. So we get a little bit lighter. And then back down here, we get a bit darker again. Okay. So they're still not dark enough for my liking. So I'm going to go back over. I'm actually going to use the warm grey 5, I think. See if that adds a bit more darkness to it, a bit more. Okay. Release the pressure as we move up. Um, there is my combo rubber, I think. Okay. Rubber in there. And then this grey, the warm grey 5. We've got this bit of feather detail here. And then again, we've got some of this comes down here. So it does need to be quite a lot darker. So I'm pushing as well because there's quite a few, oops, dark and light strokes coming over. So I want to make sure those in. And then here as well, push some of them up. But, oops, the paper's a bit bulgy. That's because of the watercolor. And then again, curving it round. So we are following the line, and then again, releasing the pressure as we move further up the back. And then as we come down here, make it that little bit darker. Okay. Oh, yes, that's getting darker there. So I'm going to actually use some black as well, but very, very light, I think. Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually going to put a little bit of detail in here now. Detailed strokes going that way, curved over. To that. Then I'm going to use the French grey 10%, and I'm going to sort of um, go over this area. That's sort of in the back. So I'm not, it's not, it's medium, about medium pressure. And I'm putting it over and fusing all these colours so that they all look like they're going nicely together. Okay. So then I'm going to start now and put some more of this detail in here. So if we push that up into there, comes down, we've got some more bits going up there. Okay. Few directional strokes in. sure it's curving over like it should be. That, and then release the pressure again as we go up here. Okay. And I'm going to go back over with some slate grey just to blend it in again. This bit here, and then I'm going to put a little bit of French grey 10% up at the top again. Getting that in just that little bit heavier, just so because that's a bit more out of focus. Okay, and then fetch that down. So if you look at it, you can see it's darker here at the bottom, and then it goes up a bit lighter there. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put some white on here, and I'm actually going to push some of this white in like that, and then I'm going to get steel grey and just go and tidy this up a little bit. Put some of the steel grey here at the bottom of the white area, and a little bit up here as well. Soften that in. Okay, and then just any areas that look like they need softening a bit. And then we've also got the violet grey. That can go a bit round here as well. I'm just sort of looking now because now we've put this little bit of dark bit in between the two. So we've got the black cap, and then this is obviously lighter than the black cap. So I'm just going to make sure this now is a lot darker than what needs to be. Got some little black crosshatched movements, and then that'll show you the black coming into the white as well. Okay, and a bit dark around there. And then we've got this grey bit here. Now it looks quite dark, but we're going to use the slice. Now I hold it. I mean, everybody's going to find their own way of holding it, but I find to get the lighter strokes, first of all, I'll clean the blade, and then where this bit is, I have that to the bottom, so I'm holding it upside down, but I find that works better for me. That, and then what I'm going to do is making sure I curve these strokes and just gently. You don't need to put a lot of pressure on this because we are looking for very small, gentle strokes. And the faster you can do it, the straighter your lines will be. Okay. If you look, we've got some cross-hatched there. I think we need to put a little bit more of the slate grey or even the warm grey 5, I think, on here. In fact, I'm going to go over with 10% again, just so I can lighten it off a little bit. It is a little bit dark, mine, but got my paper a little bit unched up just because we've used the watercolor at the beginning. Right, I'm going to take my black a minute and just put some of these little black strokes that go into the white. That pull them down. Okay. I'm going to go with a slate grey again. Top gently. blending these colours together. Okay. There. So let's now see if we can get this blade. It could be that I need to change the blade, but better. Can you see how all I'm doing is some very I don't know if you can actually see. Can you see them? Actually, I can see them, but just need a nice gentle stroke like that. And then you look, some of them are sort of, they look like they're cross-hatched. So you don't want, if you put too much, if you try to pull it too hard, you will actually cause the paper to tear, which we don't want. If you look carefully there, you can see where I've pulled the highlights out across here with this blade, but using a very light pressure. Okay. So that's that bit done. So I'm just now looking, and there's a couple of really dark bits here, sort of thing. There's coming out of this white. And I'm just going to put a few more dark details in here. Okay. And see if we can. Of the feather highlights out, and then obviously fade them away as you get up, because that is more, that's sort of in the distance faded out. So, and then I'm just going to push some of this, just sharpen my whites a little bit dull. And I want a nice sharp point for this. So this white is nice and opaque. You can get some nice sharpish lines on here. Okay. There. Okay, so that's the sort of grey, purpley grey area just there, or browny, got a bit of a tinge of brown to it. Have I got, now I do have another blade, which is a small one, if I can find it. Here's somewhere. Oh, it's here. This is a very small blade. Probably can only just see it there. Look, there's that tiny little triangle at the top of there. I'm just going to see if I can have a go at. Go and pull some of these white ones into the black as well. Okay, just tiny little marks. I don't want too many. Okay. Okay, so that's there. That's that. So if I tilt that, yeah, that way I think it is. You can see it's darker here, and then as it goes up, it does get lighter. It's just the light in here. It's a little bit. Pull that down. That's better. You can see it now, and you can see the very fine little marks that we've got there. So now we're going to move on to the belly. What I'm going to do is I've got the French grey, which is it's got a bit of a browny. It's a grey, but it's sort of a brown, warm grey. And obviously it's darker than the 10%. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to literally mark in some of these shadow areas down here, looking at the direction of which the form's going. Okay, and it comes up, and some of these marks come up that way towards the white bit that goes into the dark top. So this is the belly. This is the belly feathers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm using the French grey 10%. Put some of that down here. Okay, so that pulls down that way. And then I'm looking at where these, so they come down here sort of underneath. Let me rub some of these pencil marks out. I still see them, but I just want to know because of the direction. Because obviously the belly sort of comes down and round. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm just going to put in, I'm going more or less over all of this area here where the shadows are, and they come up to the top of where the feet are. There, and then also if you look just round the feet is where the shadow areas and across the top. Okay, and then the shadow comes down there, but this is more light on the very edge of the bird. Okay. So let me just a few of these white. I've pulled enough out of here. In fact, I'm going to use my Tombow rubber. Make sure the edge is clean. I'll rub some of these darker areas from underneath the feather, just so it looks a little bit more, so we can get a lot more of the white area in. Using the Tombow rubber, you can actually get specific areas where we can take out some of that and then put in some more, that's it, of the opaque white. So it looks like that you can see these white feathers coming up there. Okay. You just some of these darker areas in here using the French grey. This is the luminance pencil. And this is adding some nice warm touches to this belly underneath. And as I say, I'm going to use the French grey 10%. And then the top area of this belly is, so here it's all shadow. Comes up there, and then we're going to leave the edge because that's going to be more of a white. Okay. So I'm putting in, just going in the general direction. So these are quite long feathers. They're downy feathers, but they're not too short. Just double check the direction, make sure you're going in the right direction. Okay. And then up here, we've got this shadow here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the sepia here. Just going to mark in this bottom feather here, which has got more or less a dark edge to it. It's not black, it's more of a warmer dark colour. So I'll use the sepia. And then using the warm grey 5, I'm actually going to pull out here. We've got some shadow. So I use a warm grey 5 with some of the violet grey because it has got a little bit of a there. And then so that's so as it comes further up here, it does get a little bit darker and it hits that feather there. Okay. I'm just going to mark these bits of feather in here. So we've got one here that's got it's a little bit darker down there. Okay. So we've got the edge there. We've got like a little white edge there. And then this one does come up here to a point. And then that happens to come down here. So I do need to rub out that little section. I've gone a bit far there with the so just use this Tombow very carefully. Don't scrub too hard at your paper. Keep taking the ends off it. That's it. Of course, it's got a lighter edge. So I'm gonna so that goes up there. And then this side is a lot darker. That's more or less black. And these white feathers do come over the top. Right. Again, I'm just gonna better. And then so this side of the feather, look, it's got a curve to it and it's light on the edge. That's the darker side. And then if we use the gray, use the sepia in the polychromos for that side. Okay, that's a bit lighter. And then this is darker edge again. Now it's got a bit of a blue tinge to it, so I'm actually going to put a little bit of the steel grey over the top of that there. Okay. Then I'm going to put some black on to make this quite a lot darker. So that feather comes up to there. And then it's got a very fine midrib there. Okay. And that comes round, goes into there. Okay. Okay, so that's that feather there. As I say, this then hits there. So this is the shadow underneath. Use the violet grey there and put a bit of cross hatching just where that shadow is. Okay. Blend that with some white. Okay, so I'm going to go all over this area now with the white. I'm going to pull it over the edge if I can. Just get some. These are the looser feathers. Okay. And then I'm just going to go over this French grey there with the white. So I'm going over most of this belly now with the white, just to, again, to soften and fuse, push the colour into the paper. So I'm using sort of a medium to firm pressure, but not too firm. Okay. Following the direction of the fur. Okay, so that's that. I don't know why this is not some pencil that's still on there. Right, so let me just get that off. It's a bit of graphite. Okay. So while I'm here, let me get this graphite off the bottom. See, graphite, when it mixes with coloured pencils, it can make a grey, muddy mess. And with this, like, you know, this is going to be the white belly, then obviously we don't want it looking, you know, messy. So again, I'm going over these areas here. Looking carefully at the direction. Okay, that goes up into there slightly. So I'm constantly looking at my reference photo. And I'm looking for the direction in which the fur is coming. So some of it's curving over that way, and then some's curving up this way here. Okay, it comes into where this white is as well. Comes up into there. Into there. Okay. And then I'm going to use down here, I'm going to use a bit of this violet sort of, yeah, we've got a sort of very light layer of violet grey coming out of here as well. And as it comes down to this bottom section here, where the feet are, it's a bit grayer. So I'm actually going to put in, hang on, I'm going to use use a little bit of the French grey 10% first. So it's very light here, but then as we come across here, we've got a more of a shadow. And then round here, we've got some shadow as well. Across the top of his feet there, that's going to be in shadow. And then we've got a bit of shadow here on the edge. That. And then we've got some of the violet grey. We look, got some of the violet grey here very lightly. So I'm coming down here. So it's lighter on that side. So if you've got a nice sharp point, just very light pressure. And if you swing it from side to side, you get more of a feathery effect. And then follow the curvature like that round. Okay. Swinging it nicely around like that. So you get a nice uneven but soft edge there. And then again round here, and just pull these out a little bit into this area. Most of this area is white, but then again here it's more of a violety. So like I said, white isn't white and black isn't black. There are other colors involved in them. And it's by using those other colors we actually create the effect that we're looking for. That is a little bit light around there. So I'm just gonna, and it comes a little bit dark up here. Okay. I'm gonna do several like that. And then also we've got some, you look at the feathers, some that go that way, curve, you got a curve on them. So they curve that way, that. Same under here on the feet. Some up here that curve coming down. So just keep breaking off and leaving gaps, but just randomly you get some sort of, you get like a bit of a cross hatching. So now I'm going to curve that way. Okay. And then I'm going to use the actual French grey again. Make some of those nice cross hatch marks there. Darker at the top, and then it comes out into the belly a lot lighter. Pull the pressure off as it comes out into the belly. So we've got these nice darker areas. And if I hold it up in a certain direction, you can see that they are a lot darker. Okay. And then I'm just going to put a few bits of cross hatching with this colour in there. So the strokes are curved, but they're also crossed. Sharpen this a little bit so you can see them a lot better. So if you look, we've got a curve, it might go up that way. Then I'm going to curve it back down that way. So we get this sort of cross-hatched look. I've got some darker areas and some lighter areas. Okay, so just take your time with this section. That. So if I hold it up, if you can see, we've got some going up that way like that, and then we've got some down that way like that. And that's cross hatching. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this area with the warm grey, the French grey 10%. Okay. And that's just going to soften and pull these colours together and blend them. Okay, so they do look a bit more blended. That. And we've got this bit of area here, which is quite dark. Across here, we've got some of the, I'm going to put some of the actual French grey just to darken that up a little bit. And then just across these feet here. A few bits in there. And then I'm going to go over here with some white luminance. And over this side and underneath and around the edges of the bird and the belly. Okay. Again, I'm going to use if I need to, just to put a few bits of highlight back in. So very light pressure, but work fast, sort of your cross hatching movements again, just to put some highlights in there. And follow, because this goes round that way. But when you do just make sure you move it in that direction and then curve some out that way. So you're going back on yourself. And you will get some highlights of the cross stitching, the cross hatching. And then if you want to, you can actually go in with some of the violet grey, and down this side there's going to be, if you look, there are some darker bits. So if you look at your cross hatching, you can actually see where, and I'm just going to darken up some of those shadows. It's because it is quite a bit darker here. So for that, I'm using the Luminance Violet Grey. Okay, so it's just in this area here. And then as it comes up here, and doing it sort of cross-hatching. And softening it out as it comes out into this area that's a bit more white on the edges. I'm actually going to put some warm grey in there as well. On this edge here, it's a little bit of the grey. Okay. And also in the middle section, warm grey. And then the French grey again, I'm actually going to put in a bit stronger now up here. And then pull it out so it gets lighter as we come into this belly area here. Okay, and then a little bit there. And then I'm just going to glaze over a little bit of in this area here, a little bit of the steel grey just on its side, because it has got some little areas of bluey colour that I can see just there. Okay. And then the last time, I'm going to use this slice. And again, I'm just very lightly, some speed, just randomly putting back some of the highlights there. Okay. And then back that way. So you can get some feel of how this bird's feathers. Very light pressure. And dust it off. Can you see how soft it looks? But also you can see the cross hatching, both the dark and the light sides. Okay. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit better this way. There. So can you see it's nice and soft, but you can see also that it's going, it's the general direction is going round here like that. But you can also see that there are sort of cross bits of the feather as well. Okay. That's that. Let's see if I can actually. Is that white area there? There it goes around there. Okay. This is a dark sepia, and it lightens as it comes around here. I'm going to put some slate grey here because it's got a bluey tinge to it for that shadow. Okay. And again, I'm going to use some of the warm. In fact, I'm going to use, to start with, the French grey 10% there for this underneath. If you look, we've got an underneath feather where the others lie on the top. So, oops. Oh, let me get me the pencil sharpener. That one's gone. Kaput again. Okay. Excuse me. The way I put this dark colour up on the top, we have got, so it's French grey. And then I'm going to put some on top of that. I'm going to put a little bit of the violet grey. Goes up to that feather there. Okay, so that's the underneath feather. I'm going to tidy up this black. So that's there. few little more white, dark markings on here. Okay. So now you can definitely see how that's getting lighter as it comes up there. Okay. And then that's going to be, I'm just going to put some French grey 10% on there. So that's quite light. Okay, and then over the top, I'm just going to lighten it a bit more with some white. Okay. That. Um, get that to lay flat, it'd be a lot easier. That's it. So we've got the feathers there overlapping. Okay. Got a little bit of the dark sepia. Going to come out of there, lighten off as it comes back into there, and then that bit there goes up there. Then we've got this dark section of feather that comes around there, followed by another one that comes around here. That's it. Goes in back into there, goes back into there. And then this bit is, just use the sepia for that. And then I'm going to use a little bit of the black. Okay, so I'm just shaping that little bit of the feather there. Disappear that into there. Into there. That, so that comes there. So then we've got here, we've got a couple of that feathers are coming out. They're all greyish feathers there. And then here we have got, this is where, so I'm using a polychromos and I'm coming up to here, firmish pressure, like that. Now this bit is, this is the wider one. So a really sharp pencil for this. And that comes across there. And then we've got, so that one's quite dark at the bottom, but then lightens off as it comes up there. Same with all of them there. That. And then there's one comes down here. And then I'm going to change over to the slate grey. Put some on with the slate grey. And then I'm going to get the sepia and go over these black ones, the darker ones, but they're not all dark. It's just dark mainly at this bottom section. And then it lightens off as it comes up. That. Okay. Then I'm going to use the warm, no, I'm going to use the French grey 10%. And then that goes up to about there. Put them in there, cover them and then fetch it so it comes up here and out there. And then that's when it hits the tail feathers. Okay. And then down the bottom bit, it's going to have this, I'm going to use this warm grey. And then as we move up, I'm just going to pull it off a little bit, lighten it off. Then I'm going to get the slate grey again. Okay, and then we are going to slate grey in between these darker sections at the bottom and then lighten it off as it goes up the top. And then here we're going to have a little bit of the steel grey. It's a little bit bluer at the top. Yeah. And then again, I'm going to get the black and just reinforce these lines there in the feather. But as I fetch them up, I'm just going to release the pressure there a little bit. And then I'm going to get also, there's using the blade, we can take off some of the highlights, which we can see. If you look at your reference photo, you'll see you've got a line of nice bright highlights just there and also up a bit further up here. So we're just pulling some of the pigment out here just to put some highlights back in. Okay. So you can see there we've got the highlights. And then just around the highlights, if you want to reinstate some of these darker, and then pull it off there. And then we have got here, using the French grey, because it's got a bit of a warm touch to it. They sort of lean and curve that way. And then lighten that top bit off a little bit there. And again, curve that way. So it looks like these feathers then, what they're actually doing is they're meeting up and going that way. Okay. So now we're going to look at this tail. So actually, I'm going to actually put a nice layer of, excuse me, quite heavy pressure white. Let's use the slice on it again. Put some white back in the eye as well. I've just noticed lost some of the highlight of the eye. Then put this light bit here on his beak. There we go. So I'm just going to pick out some of these highlights here on his head. Like that. Okay. Right. So tail. So I'm going to put in some of this French grey 10%. Put the marking in there. Go back over that with a little bit of the slate grey. And just watch how it bends over at the end. Comes down here and it gets a bit lighter as it comes towards this bottom bit here for now. Then at the top end here, I'm going to use the sepia of the polychromos. This bit, this edge here is quite dark, and then it sort of comes in here. So that's going to be, goes tucks under there. And then with the violet grey at the top, I'm going to work on that shadow there. So if you look, it's quite strong at the top. And then it's coming down, and it comes down the side of this midrib, as I call it, which is what you call petals, really. But it's got like a little, it's where the feather is. And it's got a bit of dark on this edge as well. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of the French grey, 10%, coming up there as well, just to blend. So they blend in nicely, and that'll blend that grey. Because these are quite out of focus, so we don't want them to look too focused, okay? Now, underneath, there is another bit of a tail feather showing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I'm going to take this French grey, the French grey, and it's coming out from about here. So we've got this quite dark bit there. Comes out nearly as long as that. Okay, and then with the French grey 10%, comes back in slightly thicker at this end. Okay, and then go back over it with the black at the top. That. again, it's out of focus, so we don't want it to look. So I'm going to go over it then with the French grey 10% again, going into that darker area as well. I'm just making it look. And then this has a bit of a shadow blue. So I'm using the steel grey. That shadow bit there. Okay. And then that bit goes under there. And then I'm looking at the violet grey. It's under there. And then the black sort of outlines it a little bit there. It's a bit darker there. That's it. Okay, so that's his feathers as such. So this is building up nicely. And like I say, at the end of it, we can, if we need to, we can take some highlights out with the slice. So I'm just going to darken this up again a little bit more. And then reintroduce these shadow areas, these highlight areas. So the highlights then will stand out that little bit more. They're just put in there randomly. Okay, so we've got the nice highlights there. I'm also going to just pull out some highlights there at the top. Okay, just to make that look. That is a feather that's on top of there. Okay. Take that off there. Okay, so you can actually see that that is coming over there. Okay. So that's there. We've got that in, got that in. So I'm just now going to have a look. So while you're here now, just look and have a look at if there's any parts that you need tidy up. Darken any of the areas up. Always look at your reference. Right. Let me use the violet grey here just to add a bit more shadow around this bit here. Curving it as I'm going. Okay. Some areas there. I'm going to put some steel grey down there because it's quite a bluey tone. And then go over with some white just to curb that down a little bit, calm it down. Okay. So just double checking all these areas. Now I'm going to put some of the steel grey just around the edges of some of these white areas as they come into the background, just so that they do look nice and sort of fluffed out and not just a protruding mark. and then just flick around with the blade. That's it. So I'm just going to call that done for now, that area. So the next bit we're going to do is we've got the feet to do in the next video. And then we're going to do this branch, but we're going to try and make it disappear into the background. Okay. And just noticed I just probably need to, so with a bit of the slate grey, I just need to darken up that shadow right next to the underneath the wing. That's better. Okay. So by using the French grey, the slate grey, it's got a nice bluey tinge to it. Okay, so I'm just gonna just put a bit more violet grey there. Okay, that's better. So at this point, it's worth just having a quick flick over and a flick round your piece, and just double checking that you think you've got everything. Well, those cross stitches, that cross hatching, that okay. And darken that little feather up there, because that is need to give it a bit of a shape. And then that bit there, and then we've got a bit of a shadow going on just there where that feather comes out there. Okay, so that's looking a lot better now. And just a little bit of a sepia. I want to get this tone right, that's all. That opposite goes up there. Better. Okay. So I'm just going to call that done for now. We'll come back and do the next video tomorrow, which will be the last one for this project. Okay. And I hope that you're enjoying it so far. I mean, I love doing birds. I think they're so graceful, and it's, you know, they've got so many different features to them that they're not quite, when you start looking into them, they're not as quite as boring as you think. I mean, they don't have to be colourful. You know, you can get some nice looking birds that, you know, aren't quite as colourful. And this is quite a simple one when it comes to colours. I mean, to the naked eye, it might look black and white, but as I say, there's some warm tones in there, like browns on the white belly, and there's blue tones in the black area. So, you know, it's quite interesting when you start looking into birds, and you start then to see, you know, you can actually see little personalities, especially in their eyes. I mean, I must admit, I don't usually do them this small, but I just wanted it to look a lot easier. So, as I say, we've got the branch and the feet to do. I have included on the reference photographs, I say I have included a close-up of the eye and of the feet, because they're the bits really that a lot of people do struggle with. And they are quite simple if you break them down into simple steps. So I'm hoping I'm going to be able to show you that bit tomorrow when we're doing the last section. Okay, so we'll be doing the feet and then working this branch, and then hopefully working it so it disappears into this background. So it looks like it's popping out, and it'll make the bird pop out that little bit more. Okay, so that's that for now. I hope you've enjoyed it so far, and we'll get it finished for you tomorrow. Okay. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.